Okay, so we were talking about Nelson Mandela's wedding ceremony. In his on this special occasion, he was a bit emotional, but he was also very logical. He's admitting, and as I have told in my previous class, the person like him, the person who was very down to earth person, though he did a lot in order to get rid of apartheid in South Africa, he endured many tortures. He himself was imprisoned for 28 long years, and a person of his caliber and status, of his reputation, only can say like this, that whatever happened, happened. Let us move further. In moving further, we should not carry the hangover of the revenge. It is very easy to say but very difficult to practice. If somebody has tortured you and tortured you severely because of somebody, because of some system, because of a particular person or a group of persons, if you have lost your near and dear, it is literally very impossible to forgive that section for whatever reasons. If you are in a power or you are in a position to take revenge, taking revenge in that case is very normal. But forgiving them and forgetting everything in the past, what happened wrong to you, and taking them along with you is something very extraordinary. And that is why South Africa has presented a magnificent example before the world. The South African Constitution is one of the best constitutions that democratic countries in anywhere in the world has produced. They have taken along everybody around them. Okay, that is whites and blacks. Multicolored nation, which was been the most denounced nation of the past, is today acknowledged as the rainbow nation. On this very day, he is recalling everything. And he is thankful, he is seemingly thankful to those persons who had given their lives in order to attain this day. And he is considering himself very lucky, and on the occasion he was very emotional also, that because he survived, he is been assigned with the duty to taking the country along with others on the path of progress. Accepted. But then at the same time, he is also accepting the fact that he is also accepting the fact that anything that had happened in the past should be forgotten. And on this day, he is thankful to the world community because there was a huge august gathering of international dignitaries on the occasion. And what was the occasion? The occasion was the swearing ceremony of Nelson Mandela as the first president of South African Republic. Okay. Before him, Mr. Mbeki and the another name was that actually the first to sworn in was Mr. De Klerk, who was sworn in as the second deputy president, and the first deputy president was the Thabo Mbeki. Then it was his turn, and on this day, where was that ceremony to be staged? In an amphitheater in Pretoria. Okay, amphitheater is a huge opening surrounded by the walls, but there is no roof. Okay, that sort of the structure is called amphitheater. Okay, sort of a stadium where till yesterday there were many gatherings took place when the whites were ruling here, but in which the blacks were strictly not allowed to get in, to take any entry. Today, another very emotional occasion, that this is the same place which was considered as the prohibited area for us. Today, I am being acknowledged as the president, and everybody, those whites and blacks, deleting those barriers of any distinction, and here ready to accept and honoring us by accepting that invitation. Okay, moving further, you see, a few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters and troops carriers rode in perfect formation over the Union buildings. And this is what now the salutations and the welcoming tradition, actually the ceremony started. You have seen on Republic Day occasion that on the Rajpath there is also the display of different schools, different armed forces. They are all showing their models, and that is a sort of a might and power reflection and display on the Rajpath on the occasion of our Republic Day. Have you ever seen that? That is that jhaki sort of a thing coming. Have you ever seen? Okay, so this is whatever the new inductions are being taken place in the army, whether it is army, navy, air force, wherever. Okay, they are showing that also a display for the public view. In a sense, that display is to cultivate the confidence sort of a thing among the people of the nation that the country is into the safe hands. We are all powerful. Forget about dismal past, whatever happened. So you just fearlessly continue to contribute for the sake of the making of nation, whatever we people are doing in our capacity. As we know, the student economics being whatever our economic activities, they goes on to contribute into the GDP of the nation, and GDP of the nation, the size of the GDP of any nation is actually talking about the prosperity and progress of the nation. The economic development of any country is largely deciding the overall development of that nation and the countrymen. Okay, so what we need to do is that we need to be feeling very secure. We need to feel very, very fearless, and the responsibility of our security and safety, our defense, is into the hands of the army and police forces. And with the display of these models, these jets, these fighter arms and ammunitions, they in a sense writing or putting their signature of confidence on the people's mind that be fearless about anything and continue doing your duty. And that is what he is telling. Is in a few moments later, you will be seeing the sky over here will be filled with that of the display of helicopters and jet planes in a particular pattern, saluting and welcoming these leaders and the people. But this is not only the salute or not only welcome, but it is also the display of our might and power. Let the world to know that we are also all powerful and we can defend ourselves. If I'm not going to attack, we are not going to attack over others. But then, if somebody has been looking at us with the wrongful intention, then we are powerful enough to defend ourselves and defeat our enemy. And this particular formation by the armed forces is the testimony to that fact. That is what he is telling on the occasion, demonstration of that. So you see, that is what coming also. A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe, in surprise, and a spectacular array here is that in a particular fashion. You say that pattern, okay, spectacular is very magnificent, very impressive, of South African jets, helicopters and troops, the collective noun for the group of soldiers, carriers rode in perfect formation over the Union buildings. It was not only the display of pinpoint precision and military force. Okay, if somebody is flying a jet on a very high speed in a particular formation, okay, and a pattern, this is also the skill to the topmost level. The control is magnificent by the pilots. But this is not only the display of the skill, but this is also the reflection of the fact that we are out now all powerful. These are all the part of our arms and ammunitions also. This is what coming. So it was not only a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. So this is what this armed forces is showing, and showing their dedication to the people of South Africa, and showing their dedication to the government of South Africa, which is actually been elected by the people of South Africa. Only moments before, the highest generals of the South African Defence Force and Police, their chests bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and praised their loyalty. And this is what, so till yesterday he's trying to compare things from the past. These very people who were ignoring us, the black people were ignoring us, but now in a complete uniform they are saluting me, and their salute is actually their loyalty. They are showing their commitment, dedication and loyalty towards me, and through me towards the people of South Africa, towards the Republic of South Africa. It was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years, and that is what he is telling, what I have told. That is, we should not forget, unmindful of the fact means what? We should not forget the same people who had prisoned me, who had tortured upon us, because who are they? They are actually one of the functionaries of the government. They are the part of the system. And till yesterday, the white government, in that system, the orders and commands were given to them to imprison us, to follow that discrimination of race, or of the racial discrimination, and they were executing those commands. So that is what he is telling, that I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years before they would not have saluted but arrested me. Today these guys, a little while ago, when he would have arrived on the podium or on the ceremony plot, on the scene, he would have been welcomed by these armed forces. Who is these armed forces? They are the same armed forces who till yesterday, a few years back, were capturing us, were torturing us, and they were been feeling pride in arresting me. The same hand that were arresting me a few years back, now the same hand is saluting me, and that is a great transformation. And this transformation is really very emotional. Finally, the chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail of the black, red, green, blue and gold, and now after that the smokes were, and that is, we have also seen on our Republic Day function, that they were been that jet is been releasing in the air the tricolor smoke, and that is actually the formation of the flag, and this is the formation of the South African national flag. So in this paragraph, what is saying, two things are very emotional thing. Is one thing is the skill and of these people. You are flying a jet, and flying a jet, many jets have been flown in the air in a particular pattern, and then making a beautiful scene on the air, in the air, is really that requires a great talent and skill. That requires a great command over your machine, and that is what they have done. Second thing is what? These very hands till yesterday who were ready to imprison me and putting me into the prison, the same hands saluted me. And third thing is what? Third thing is not only the display of the skill, but the display of the might and power of South African armed forces. Okay, that is what he said. Now, the day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthems and the vision of white singing. That is where the whites were singing and the black singing. So this is both the two, and as we have studied, if you could recall, in the South African Constitution, that is why it is unique from many viewpoints. They have accommodated, they had the apprehensions. The white had tortured blacks for many years. After the success of that anti-apartheid movement, the South Africa became republic, and once it was republic, the system of apartheid was finished. But then because whites had tortured blacks very badly, the apprehensions in the minds of the whites, you just recall your political science chapter till last year, okay? They had apprehensions in the mind that because I have tortured you, I have killed you, I have made the life literally difficult for you. Today you are in power, getting the chance both by the majority and plus the population also. 3/4 of the South African population is forming that blacks. Okay, so today the power is into the hands of the blacks. So it's quite easy that you can take the revenge. But the Constitution of South Africa presenting a magnificent example, nothing of that sort happened. Okay, they have accommodated, and he had given the speech also, Nelson Mandela, that whatever happened, because you are the part of our population, no anybody, not even the whites, blacks, women, anybody, because if you are leaving any section of the population untouched, they are backward, then you cannot think the country to be developed. So you need to take along everybody along with you, and this is another testimony to the fact that we have in South Africa the two national anthems, one for the whites. This is not discrimination, whites singing another one, blacks singing another one, but together we have been singing and presenting our national anthem. Is another national anthem, national flags. What are they? They are a sort of allegory. They are actually that is called the romantic idea of nationalism. Okay, that is a cultural presentation of bringing people together. Okay, you are a student, I am a teacher. You might have your own limitations, I might have my own limitations, but whenever the national anthem of India is actually being played, both of you and I are presenting the same sort of emotions and showing our respect to that. So through this national anthem, you as well as I getting connected. That connectivity, that is your history book also, the Nationalism in Europe, Nationalism in India. There are 2 chapters there, where this one is called Romanticism. That is this is what the romantic idea of nationalism. Okay, so here through also, even though you have your own things in the past, today we are all connected, and that is a very emotional moment. That is what he is trying to say. Although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem, once they despised means hated badly. Okay, they would soon know the words by heart. Okay, on that day when the new national anthem was being taught. Okay, for example, that is what I'm trying to give the example through our national anthem. Maybe in the beginning you are not been knowing particular national anthem, not knowing the lyrics of a particular thing. So you might not be showing the interest of singing that song if you are not knowing the lyric of that. But then if the tune and the lyric is been somewhere conforming with your emotion sentiment somewhere, suppose the tune of the song you like very much, the lyric of the song you have been liking and trying to connect that, okay, this sort of a lyric has been especially written for me, okay, or for my emotion, then you feel connected to that particular song. And once that connectivity has been developed, then it becomes the integral part of you. That's the same happens with the national anthem. The emotional connectivity, okay, and everybody feel connected, and that is not only the connection, but that is somewhere more than the connection. That is somewhere more than the song. Okay, that is what he is telling. On that very day, the white singing theirs, the white black singing theirs, the lyric of the song might not be liked by others, might not be understood by many, might not, maybe even despised, that is, maybe hated by many, but very soon they would be getting it by heart, and that would become the integral part and a reflection. It would become an indicator of what? Indicator of one's patriotism, one's connection to or emotional connection towards their nation. Now, on the day of the inauguration, I was emotionally very much high. If any sentiment that is emotionally very high is overwhelmed. Okay, so I was overwhelmed with a sense of history, and many a times he was going to in the past, and quite obvious if you put yourself and try to feel that the type of the life that he had lived in the past and the today's date. First of all, it is very hard to accept, even for the readers, because those who had, today also we are welcoming and felicitating our freedom fighters. Why? because they had seen those era. You would have seen that on the special day of 15th August or Republic Day, that is 26th January, the government of India is specially acknowledging the freedom fighters in every locality of the country, okay, in every district, wherever it is possible. Why? That is what a sense of emotional feeling that they had been the part of that torturous day. And we feel very much connected emotionally that they not only participated in the making of the country as an independent nation, but they are surviving even today. So it is our moral duty, who had endured many pain, who had survived many tortures, who went into the jail, who tolerated the lathi blows and many things, who had left their life for the sake of the nations and their family even. Okay, it is our duty to acknowledge them or acknowledge their effort. So this is sort of a thing is once again on the day of inauguration. This is the beginning of South Africa, a new South Africa, but then he was overwhelmed with the sense of history. In the first decade of the 20th century, that is 1900, around 1910, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War, Boer is the name of a tribe there, war, and before my own birth, the white-skinned people of South Africa patched up their differences and erupted a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned peoples of their own land. Okay, so after that African-Boers War, what happened? This system of apartheid started, where the whites started discriminating very badly against the local native population of dark-skinned people. Now, the structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhumane societies the world has ever known, and that is what in my previous first lecture I have talked about. This brutality is a rare example in the history of human civilization. Okay, that where a fellow people not only discriminating but torturing, and that torture is also of a great magnitude that you cannot even bring in your imagination. Many people lost their life, and that is what, on just simply on the basis of the color of his skin. Okay, so this is a great brutality that this structure of apartheid was highly denounced. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century and my own 8th decade as a man, okay, so he is now been talking about that around 80 years old. Now I am. The system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all peoples regardless of their color, of their skin. So you see, this line, it started much ago, and it left the country after many struggles, after many years. That blotted part, that is the darkest part of South Africa, where a fellow citizen torturing the another one, and not only torturing but killing them, brutally exploiting them, that history has passed. Thankfully, we had gotten rid of all these things. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people whose sufferings and courage can never be counted or repaid. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those South African patriots who had gone before me, and that is what he is telling, and this is what the feeling is all about. Okay, he's been telling that first of all on this day he is acknowledging and recalling the sacrifices of those thousands of people who led their life for this new day. Of course, today is a red letter day where I am going to be, Nelson Mandela was going to be sworn in as the president of South Africa, but then he thought it was his moral duty to recall all these things on this August day before this very celebrated audience and spectator, where the entire international community is assembled to witness, to become the live witness and eyewitness of this magnificent transformation of free South Africa, where the whites has passed on their rule on the blacks. Because if you recall, many international sanctions and restrictions were also put on the white South African government. And because of those international pressures and internal struggle, ultimately by ANC, ANC, African National Congress, South Africa finally got rid of all this. So he's recalling all this. You can see here some of the faces in your book also given. So that long and noble line ended and now began again with me. So there were many who fought with me. There were many who actually led their life during the course of those fights, and because of their sacrifices, because of their martyrdom, today we are an independent nation. So I was pained. Now he's feeling agony, because when you have lived the life with somebody and that somebody has given their life for the sake of your cause, the ambition, that is the South African nation, and because of those sacrifices, of course you have also endured the pain, but then those who have left you on the way, you will be emotionally feeling pain and agony for them. Okay, so I was pained that I was not able to thank them, and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had brought about. Okay, so has given there, or here that route is to brought about here, so they have given to the world. Okay, so in a sort of formation. Okay, so it is that is what he's been feeling missing. I am acknowledging everybody. I am feeling thankful to everybody present here, but I should also be thankful to those people who had led their life, who had sacrificed for the sake of the nation. I am feeling particularly handicapped that I am missing them in particular, because I could not even say thanks to them because they are no more. Okay, but their sacrifices have made all this possible. So this is in a sense a sort of emotional tribute to all those freedom fighters whose efforts saw today South Africa as an independent nation. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from that profound hurt. Okay, so in order to, because everybody here, maybe the coming generation would not be. For example, today, you people are, if sensitive towards, okay, that present day generation, sometimes if you ask them the question that name a few freedom fighters, they may not name many. Some of the freedom fighters their names are actually been mentioned in your book, because being lucky enough to be educated, you might be knowing some of the names. Okay, but then sometimes if you see very practical, be very practical. Sometimes in the assembly gathering, or sometimes in the public gathering, whenever a national anthem is played, or whenever we pay tribute to some of our great freedom fighters, is everybody in the gathering very sincere and serious about that tribute? Answer is coming no. Okay, so this is what we are gradually feeling a little bit detached. Even some section started criticizing their contribution. Okay, but then go back to the generations, to your fathers, to your grandfathers, to your forefathers, or to those people who were just the comrades of those freedom fighters. They would be feeling that how they felt, they would be recalling each and every incident, and then finally feeling emotional. So that is what he is telling, that the pain of those days, apartheid, which was a blot on the human history, it would be taking very long time to forget. Okay, and it would be not easy, may not be the generations, it would be taking that much time, so that the generations after generations may have be coming. So that is what telling, that for all of us it may be taking a lot of time, if not generations, recovering from that great hurt, that great agony of apartheid. But the decades of operation, a decade is of 10 years, okay, means of many years of suppression, oppression, tortures, all these things. So, but the decades of oppressions and brutality had another unintended effect. What? That was, it produced the Oliver Tambos and the Walter Cecilus, Chief Lentulus. These are some of the great names, and these people were such an extraordinary people. Now, this is what he wanted to say through these lines. Sometimes what happens, that difficult times in your life bring certain opportunities. Today, some great names that we are knowing. Say Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, these people. They were great lovers of their motherland. Okay? But then how could we come to know that they were the great patriots? Because of the tortures inflicted upon fellow Indians by the Britishers. Had Jallianwala Bagh incident not taken place, who knows that Bhagat Singh would not have been motivated enough to become such a great person who he is today known as. Okay? So that incident, which is a very negative incident, but sometimes the incident bringing people together, the difficult situation bringing people together, and that togetherness sometimes produces some extraordinary persons and extraordinary things. Lockdown, for example, it is a very negative pandemic situation, but the sort of solidarity and unity that we have shown. Second thing, suppose we started using the technology. You started using the technology. There were many things and many things as a student that you today got the opportunity of, somewhere thanks to this pandemic. Having said that, we are not welcoming this pandemic. Okay? But then had this lockdown would not be there, who knows that through Zoom platform, through this technology, through this PDF, through these YouTube channels, these are the another way of teaching and educating. Okay, so sometimes the difficult situations in life brings the opportunity, and those who have been taking it as a challenge is becoming from ordinary to extraordinary. Some of the extraordinary persons in South African history that we got the gem of them, some of the names that he has mentioned, is simply because of that apartheid. That apartheid had taken as a challenge by these people, and these people have shown that what these people are. Okay, so this is another way of showing their tributes towards some great persons. Who are they? They are not only the persons. They were the man of courage. They were the man of wisdom. They were the man of greatness, open-heartedness, that is generosity, that their like may never be known again. And that is what is said. We sometimes used to say that some of these personalities comes on the earth but rarely comes on the earth. Okay? It would be very difficult to believe for the generations to come that on the earth there ever lived a man in a bone and a flesh called Mahatma Gandhi, sort of a statement given by Albert Einstein for Mahatma Gandhi. Okay? So it would be very difficult because he was a man of truth and non-violence, and he had used that one as a weapon to fight for India's freedom against the most brutal enemy of the British against the British colonialism. Okay, so it would be literally very hard to believe that one single person had in such a great way transformed the nation and brought the people together. So this sort of a person, they were not only the person. Apartheid had given the birth to some great persons like them who were really the man of wisdom, courage, generosity and many such things. Perhaps it requires such depths of oppression to create such heights of character. And this is what is a message also. Sometimes normally what happens that whenever the difficult situations come in the life, ordinary people surrender. Extraordinary people take it as challenge. Okay, and whenever you have been taking anything as a challenge, you are not only transformed. You are a man of great character, great determination, great courage, only fighting the adverse situations in life. And once you fought adversities in your life and become winner, you are literally transforming yourself to the pinnacle, to the position that is magnificent. So this is the apartheid has given that opportunity. Those people, as I have told, had Jallianwala Bagh not been there, Bhagat Singh as a person would have been a great person, but then his greatness to the rest of the world would have not been known if that blotted event would not have taken place. So sometimes adversity brings opportunity to transform people. So my country is rich in the minerals. My country, because we know that when geographically South Africa is rich into many things. Okay, diamond, jewels, minerals. This is what the South Africa is rich into, natural resources. So my country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil. In its mines, there are many Kimberley diamond mines, the world's largest and biggest, is in South Africa. So South Africa is known, but then I have always known that its greatest wealth is the people. Okay, the people's sense of sacrifice, the people's sense of humanity, and people's sense of devoting their lives for others and each other is actually a true resource for any nation. Then only the nation can. If the human population of a nation becomes selfish, thinking only very closely, then the nation, irrespective of the richness of natural resources and wealth and many other things, is not likely to prosper. That is what he is telling. We are blessed with many natural resources, but I always think that it is our greatest achievement, our greatest wealth is our people who are very fine, who are very true, down to earth, and they are as pure as diamonds. That is why they are helping in order to glitter South Africa, and this transformation, getting rid of apartheid, and we have established ourselves as a rainbow nation, the nation that was still yesterday despised by others, hated and denounced by others, today become an indicator of great nation. Our constitution is one of the greatest in the world, and this is what because of our people together. Okay, in its form, these comrades, means our friends here, in the struggle, those who have supported, all our colleagues and friends who have supported in the struggle of apartheid or anti-apartheid movement, that I learned the meaning of courage. And this is what a very inspiring line comes. You see, time and again I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. First of all, they are forming one idea, taking the risk in order to go for that idea for negative, positive, both the reasons. Okay, for example, the idea of Nazis. He had also, Adolf Hitler had also created some idea, and that particular idea has changed the world. Now that was a negative change. Here also the idea was there, and which is a superlative idea where the humanity is winning. Okay, so this is what he is telling. I have seen men stand up to the attacks and torture. These are all courage. If anybody is torturing you, anybody is attacking over you, you have been taking the bull by its horn, it means that you are very courageous person. Okay, but then in his opinion, the courage is something else. Let us see. So I learned that courage was not the absence of fear. Normally you are a very brave person. It means what? In other simple words, take it by in the simple sense, a very brave person means, sir, I don't care about anything. I don't fear about anything. Okay. So that does not mean, in his opinion, courage is not the absence of fear, but victory over fear. Whatever the thing that apprehends you, that is making you afraid, may it be poverty, may it be slavery, may it be failure, whatever it is, if you are winning over that one, then that is actually the courage. The brave man is not who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers the fear. I don't feel afraid of anything. That does not mean I am very brave. Okay, whatever the things that petrifies me, whatever the things that apprehends anybody, that winning over those apprehensions, those fears, those petrifications are actually the courage in his opinion. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. And that is what it is a man-made thing. This discrimination would have studied in your political science once again, that there are two bases. One is the reason behind any difference. One is based on your choice, another is based on the accident of birth. Okay, so if somebody is born white, somebody is born black, that is all natural. But when one tends to overlap over others, then that particular natural difference converts into distinction, and that is wrong. Okay, so people must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. And this is another very magnificent line. None of us have taken the birth with the idea of hating others. कि तुम खराब है, तुम फल्ला है, ये वो, ऐसा जन्म से कोई नहीं हम लोग थे. It means that these are the certain things that has been taught to us in this world, that he is belonging to X religion, he is Y religion, he is white, he is black, he is rich, he is poor. Let us hate them, let us hate her, him, whatever. These are all the things that has been taught to us after what? After we have taken birth. So if this sort of a hatred is also been learned, we can also be taught to love each other, so that there will be no hatred in this world. That is what he is telling. So if can learn that they can be taught to love, or for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. The opposite of love is hate. So we are naturally born to love each other. You see the small kid, you see the grown-up kid, you go and see the students studying in standard play and LKG or UKG, even they fight, that fight is also very lovely. So that is a very natural thing. They forget, very next moment they are forgetting everything. Okay. So this is what, this is showing that we have all born with that particular character or trait called love. So we have all born with love. It means that is an exotic foreign element that is been put inside us, that is called hatred. Our natural inherent element is love. So if the hate is dominating over love, it means something is very much external. Our internal feature is to love each other. So from where these sort of hatred and hateful things are coming? That is what the great things that he is telling. I see the glimmer of humanity, and that is what he is telling, that if you keep on thinking like this, one positive sort of a thing, that everybody has the love. Now he is recalling the incident of once he was in jail. Okay, you see, even in the grimmest time, is the toughest time, grim is sad. Okay, so even in the grimmest time in prison, when I was going through my very difficult situation, I would see a glimmer of humanity. Okay, even in that very tough thing, where everybody seems to be around me were supposed to be my enemy, because we were the blacks, we were imprisoned, and the guards around us were representing the white rule. Okay, so everybody was there except our comrades, because he along with the 7 persons were imprisoned. Okay, so except that one, everybody around us in one of the guards. But I have found what that love is trying to say, that you are who? You are here to guard over, put a guard on me. You have been told by your master, your commander, go and torture me. But you are also a human being. I am also a human being. You are also knowing somewhere deep into your heart that your commander, your master has given you the wrong command. I haven't done anything wrong to you or anybody. And because even after that you have been given the command to torture me. So somewhere the love inside your heart actually mushroom came up, sprouted, and that is the reflection of that love. What happened? That I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second, and that is enough. That's some sort. Most of the time you talked me, actually you abused me. But then that abusiveness of yours is all imposed, not your original thing. Okay, your original is your respect towards me. Out of the 10 sentences that you have spoken, one word of the love actually came towards me. The rest were all hatred. But that was good enough for me to understand that somewhere is there is a seed of a love. If I can nurture it properly, I can grate the fruit out of it, or rather take the fruit out of it. Okay, so that is for a second I saw what? That it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Man's goodness. So he had shown that love, and that was anything, because your goodness, a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. So you are born with a good nature, good character, but then your circumstances have made you hateful to others. Your learning, your modern education, your teaching, your some sort of a distress, because by birth nobody is born criminal, nobody is born with hate. So if you are born with goodness, your goodness may be suppressed for a time. It is a sort of a flame that can be put or dim, but it can never be extinguished. What we can do, if we can give the and create the proper situation, favorable condition, it can once again spring back to life. So that is what is trying to give the teaching of the love on the tree. Let it be. This is almost that. Okay, tomorrow I'll try to finish this one. About which he is talking about his childhood days. After that, this will be coming to an end.